You don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, but that ain't no matter. This is the opening line to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and fortunately for Samuel Longhorn Clemens, millions of people have read that book, along with his many other works, including The Prince and the Pauper, Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, and of course The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. I'm Michael Vischer for Intertemporal Public Broadcasting, and today I've set my microphones back to 1889 to talk with Mr. Clemens about his life and his work. As usual, due to the constraints of the space-time continuum, his segments are audio only. Mr. Clemens, welcome. It is an honor to have you here, and I know you're a busy man, so let's get the preliminary questions out of the way. Where and when were you born?
I was born on November 30th, 1835 in Florida, Missouri. However, I grew up in Hannibal, Missouri.
Hannibal? Were you fond of eating humans there?
What do you mean by that?
Nothing, Mr. Clemens. Just a joke for our modern viewers. Tell us a little about your early writing.
My first book was called Jim Smiley and His Jumping Frog, and
Isn't Jumping Frog a little redundant?
I am a close personal friend of Nikola Tesla, you know. I can get him to shut off this connection.
Mr. Clemens.
Actually, I think I have a pickaxe around here someplace.
No, Mr. Clemens, please, calm down. No more interruptions, I promise. Tell me about your other writing.
Yes, of course. My first real successful book was The Innocents Abroad, and it was a bestseller.
And what's that about?
It is basically a travel book, so nothing that spectacular.
But it had to have been pretty spectacular. It's the best-selling book you ever wrote.
You mean to tell me that the book I'm working on now about the space monkeys who designed a new kind of raspberry for the German Snoodle company isn't going to be selling?
I don't think that could ever sell, Mr. Clemens.
But it is a metaphor for fascism.
Mr. Clemens, perhaps you should write about something else.
I see. Maybe I can do a King Arthur story. Tell me about how you've time traveled. That has potential.
Mr. Clemens, you seem to have a severe distaste for humanity. You have written such statements on the subject as, "It is just like man's vanity and impertinence to call an animal dumb because it is dumb to his dull perceptions."
Yeah?
All human rules are more or less idiotic.
Too true.
And concerning the difference between man and the jackass, some observers hold that there isn't any, but this wrongs the jackass.
Did I really say that?
Yes, you did.
Wow, I'm amazing.
Yes. Well.
Oh, there's that pickaxe.
Okay, yes. You are amazing. You really are.
Why, thank you.
But why?
Why?
Why are you seen as so amazing? You've become a legendary figure of what you called the Gilded Age. Why are you ranked among the other great men of that time?
Why shouldn't I be?
You're not going to be very helpful here, are you?
Oh, Olivia, dear, could you hand me that pickaxe over there?
Enough with the pickaxe, Mr. Clemens.
Then do not continue to demean me. You want to know why I am seen as so great of an author? First, it is because the concepts I write about are timeless.
What do you mean?
Well, you still have racism in your time, don't you?
We do.
And you still have social classes, is that right?
That's right.
And you still use riverboats, yes?
No, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
That is not important. I have no doubt that the issues I wrote and am still writing about are still relevant in your time.
Apart from the space monkeys.
Shut your mouth. And also, my books are accessible. They can be read by people of all ages.
Assuming their parents don't mind the racial slurs.
What was that?
Nothing, please continue.
Young people do not read Herman Melville in your time, do they? I would guess that most do not even know who he is. And why do you think that is? Because it is not accessible to them. No kid wants to read about the history of the whaling industry. Why would anyone want to read about that? And what adult is going to get invested in a children's story by someone like Lewis Carroll?
A lot of people, actually. A movie version of Alice in Wonderland just came out 5 years ago, our time.
Oh, so motion pictures were not merely a passing fad. Fascinating.
Yes, in your time and currency it would have made over $12 million and...
Over $12 million?
Yeah, For our 2015 viewers, that's over $334 million.
Gee whiz!
Speaking of film adaptations, I'm going to steer the topic away from your past and ask you a question about your future. Would you like to see some movies based on your books?
Yes, tell me, what have they done with my works?
That there green fella is Huckleberry Larry, though most folks just call him Huck.
Is that supposed to be Huck?
And the red guy is Tomato Sawyer. Most folks just call him Tom since, well, tomato seems a little obvious.
That is not Tom. That's part of a salad.
There are times when fate reaches down and grabs you by the lapels. This was one of those times. The logger in question, Steve, was not the sharpest blade in the sawmill. What Dooley said was, keep an eye on Big Jim. What Steve heard was, please run into town and get me a strawberry smoothie.
How dare they?
And that's just one of your stories.
Come again. Who else have these vegetables done this to?
Name it.
William Shakespeare.
Your eggs, Prince Omelette, cooked light and fluffy. The last eggs in the kingdom.
The last poor yolks. I'll chew them well, Horatio.
Charles Dickens.
Grandma, you're okay. What are you doing here?
She can't hear you.
Hi, Grandma. You feeling okay?
You're not really here, Ebenezer. This is Easter past.
Robert Louis Stevenson.
If one dare listens, then one dare hears a tale to rouse your secret fears.
Okay, this sounds promising.
Tarry not, for the end draws nigh on Dr. Jiggle and Mr. Sly.
Confound it! These vegetables must pay. I will slice them and dice them until juices spurt out of their connection.
Well, that was interesting. That was our interview with Mark Twain, a man of great talent, great humor, and now probably a great hatred for edible plant life. He gave us a couple of reasons for his popularity, which were both valid, but here's what I think. We all want to be like the characters in his books, to go on their adventures and do what they do, and Mark Twain allowed us to do those things while still remaining in a world very similar to our own. He allowed us to find treasure like Tom Sawyer, stand up against racism like Huck Finn, trade places with a prince like Tom Canty, and maybe, just maybe, time travel into the past, like Hank Morgan and like us. Michael Fisher reporting for ITPB.